The massive crystal chamber floated in space around two burning stars. Inside, creatures from 47 different worlds sat in their special pods. Each pod had different air, different temperature, different everything. The aliens needed these things to stay alive while they talked about important matters. Admiral Jake Murphy pressed his face against the thick glass window. He watched the aliens below argue about his people. Next to him, diplomat Lisa Carter wrote notes on her tablet. Her face looked worried as she listened to the translation device in her ear. The chamber was huge, bigger than any building on Earth. Floating platforms held the alien representatives. Some looked like giant bugs with too many eyes. Others were covered in scales or had tentacles instead of arms. A few looked almost human, but their skin was blue or green or purple. The Vorthan representative stood up on his platform. He was tall and thin, with 4 arms and eyes that moved in different directions. When he spoke, his voice came through the speakers as perfect English, but Jake knew it was really clicking and buzzing sounds. "These humans come from what they call Earth," the Vorthan said. "We have studied this world. It is a death planet. The weather tries to kill everything. The ground shakes and splits open. Giant storms cover whole continents. How can we trust people who come from such a terrible place?" Many aliens nodded their heads, or whatever they had instead of heads. Some made sounds that the translator said meant agreement. A creature that looked like a walking fish tank spoke next. Water sloshed around inside its clear suit as it moved. "We have read their history books," the Kalari delegate said. "Wars everywhere. Weapons that can destroy their whole world. They fight each other constantly. They are too dangerous to join us." Jake felt his hands turn into fists. These aliens had never seen real war. They had never fought for their lives. They sat in their safe worlds and judged humanity from far away. The vote started. One by one, each species cast their decision. The numbers appeared in the air above the chamber. Jake watched the count grow higher and higher against humanity. 39 votes against letting humans join the galaxy. 7 aliens chose not to vote at all. Only 1 voted to let humans in. It was a young alien with silver skin and big black eyes. Jake remembered her from when she visited Earth last year. She had seemed amazed by human cities and culture. But the voting did not stop there. An old creature covered in thick scales stood up slowly. Elder Thaxis was ancient even by alien standards. His people, the Corvani, had been in space for thousands of years. When he spoke, everyone listened. "It is not enough to say no to these humans," Elder Thaxis said. His voice was deep and rough. "These deathworlders are dangerous to all peaceful life. We must act first to protect our children and our worlds." Jake felt ice in his stomach. This was not just about joining their club anymore. "I call for a vote of military action," Elder Thaxis continued. "We must remove the human threat before they can spread their violence to other systems." The second vote was even worse than the first. 41 species voted to attack Earth. Only 5 voted against it. 1 did not vote. Jake's earpiece buzzed with a coded message from Earth. General Ryan Bell's voice was calm but urgent. "Jake, you need to leave now. Our long-range sensors are picking up massive fleet movements heading toward our space. They are not just saying no to us. They want to wipe us out." Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. "We have to go," she whispered. "The station security is heading this way." They moved quickly through the corridors. Other humans who had come to watch the vote were also leaving fast. Everyone could feel that something bad was about to happen. As they reached their ship, Jake heard the final announcement from the Galactic Council. It was broadcast on all frequencies so every species could hear it. "All military forces are authorized to proceed with the elimination of the human threat. These deathworlders must be stopped before they can bring their violence to civilized space. The operation will begin immediately." Jake's pilot, Commander Sam Turner, already had the engines running. "Admiral, we need to jump to hyperspace right now. I am reading weapons charging on the station." "Do it," Jake ordered. The stars stretched into lines as their ship jumped away from the alien station. Jake sat in his chair and thought about what had just happened. 47 alien species had looked at humanity and decided they were too dangerous to live. They had no idea how right they were about to be. "Lisa, send a message to Earth Command," Jake said. "Tell them the galaxy just declared war on us before we even knew we were fighting." Lisa's fingers flew over her control panel. "Message sent, Admiral. What do you think will happen now?" Jake looked out at the stars rushing past their ship. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were moving toward Earth. They thought they were going to destroy a primitive species that barely knew how to travel between stars. They were about to learn why Earth was called a deathworld. They think they know what war is, Jake said quietly. They have no idea what humans do when someone threatens their home. The ship continued its journey toward Earth, racing against time to warn humanity that the galaxy had voted for their extinction. Behind them, alien fleets prepared for what they thought would be an easy victory against a weak species from a dangerous world. None of them understood that surviving on a death world had taught humans something the aliens had never learned. When your whole planet tries to kill you every day, you get very good at fighting back. The peaceful galaxy was about to discover what happened when you picked a fight with creatures who had spent millions of years learning how to survive against impossible odds. Earth was going to show them exactly why humans had earned the right to call themselves the dominant species on one of the most dangerous planets in the known universe. The vote was over. The war was about to begin. Earth moved faster than any alien could imagine. Within 6 hours of Admiral Murphy's warning, every human settlement from the outer colonies to the space stations around Jupiter received the same message. President Helen Ross spoke from the White House, her voice steady and cold. "This is Code Crimson. Total War Protocol is now active. All civilian ships report to the nearest military base. All reserve forces report for duty immediately. The galaxy has declared war on humanity. We will show them what a mistake that was." General Ryan Bell stood in the Pentagon War Room surrounded by holographic displays. Each screen showed human military forces moving into position. Unlike the aliens who voted for war from comfortable chairs, every human leader in that room had fought in real battles. They had seen friends die. They knew what war really meant. Captain Steve Walsh's voice came from the Mars Naval Yards. "General, the heavy assault fleet is ready. The battleship Vengeance and her escort group are standing by for orders." From the asteroid belt, Commander Amy Foster reported in. "Kinetic bombardment platforms are armed and targeting enemy approach routes. The mining crews have volunteered to stay and operate the mass drivers." General Bell nodded. The miners were tough people who spent their lives in space pulling metal from floating rocks. If they wanted to fight, he would let them. Dr. Paul Young entered the war room carrying a thick folder. He was the head of alien studies, and his job was to understand how other species thought and fought. "General, I have the analysis you requested," Dr. Young said. "The aliens who voted for war come from garden worlds. Perfect weather, plenty of food, no natural disasters. They have never faced real danger in their entire evolutionary history." "What does that mean for us?" General Bell asked. "It means they have no idea what total war looks like," Dr. Young replied. "They think war is about fancy tactics and honor codes. They have never fought an enemy that would do anything to survive." The alien fleets arrived 3 days later. Their ships were beautiful, all smooth curves and bright colors. They moved in perfect formations like they were in a parade. Admiral Kethrick of the Vorthon fleet led over 800 ships toward Earth. The aliens expected to find human ships waiting to defend their home world. Instead, they found empty space. Earth's orbital platforms were dark and quiet. No ships moved between the planets. Admiral Kethrick opened a communication channel. His voice was confident and proud. "Humans of Earth, surrender now and we will make your end quick. Resistance will only make your suffering last longer." The answer came from the asteroid belt, not from Earth. Captain Sam Turner's voice was calm and friendly, like he was talking to an old friend. "Admiral Kethrick, this is the Human Defense Fleet. You are in our space without permission. You have 30 seconds to turn around and leave before we show you why the galaxy should have left us alone." The aliens laughed. Their sensors showed only about 200 human ships scattered throughout the solar system. How could such a small force fight 800 alien warships? The laughter stopped when the asteroids began to move. "All human ships, this is Captain Turner." His voice came over every human communication system. "Weapons are free. Show these aliens what deathworlders do to invaders." What happened next would be studied in military schools for the next 1,000 years. Human ships did not form neat battle lines like the aliens expected. They did not follow the rules of civilized warfare that the galaxy had used for centuries. Instead, they fought like the hunters their ancestors had been. Human ships came from above and below, using the gravity of planets to slingshot themselves into attack runs. They hid behind asteroids and inside the rings of Saturn. When alien ships tried to pursue them, they found themselves flying into fields of floating mines. The asteroid miners had turned their mass drivers into weapons. Chunks of metal the size of cars flew through space at incredible speeds. When they hit alien ships, the beautiful hulls cracked like eggs. Captain Jenny Walsh led a squadron of fighters that attacked like a pack of wolves. They would hit an alien ship and then disappear before the enemy could fight back. When the aliens sent ships to chase them, they flew into ambushes where more human ships waited. These humans fight without honor. Admiral Ketherick complained to his staff. They hide and strike from shadows like cowards. His tactical officer, a young Vorthan named Zek, studied the battle displays. Sir, they are not fighting like cowards. They are fighting smart. Every attack serves a purpose. They are using our own size against us. Admiral Ketherick did not want to listen. He ordered his ships to attack Earth directly, thinking the humans would have to come out and fight fairly to defend their home world. Instead, Earth's moon suddenly lit up with weapons fire. Hidden gun batteries that the aliens had not detected opened up on the alien fleet from behind. The moon itself had been turned into a fortress. Colonel Rick Davis commanded the ground-based weapons. Fire everything, he ordered. Let them see what happens when you threaten our home. The alien fleet found itself caught between the human ships and the weapons on Earth's moon. Everywhere they turned, more enemies appeared. Human fighters swarmed around their big ships like angry bees. Admiral Ketherick's flagship shook as human weapons pounded its shields. Retreat, he finally ordered. All ships retreat immediately, but the humans were not done. As the alien fleet tried to escape, human ships followed them, hitting their engines and weapons. The aliens had come to destroy humanity. Instead, they limped away, having lost over half their ships. Captain Turner watched the alien fleet disappear into hyperspace. Around him, human ships regrouped and checked for damage. They had lost only 30 ships in the entire battle. Send a message to Earth Command, Turner ordered. Tell them the aliens have learned their first lesson about fighting deathworlders. General Bell received the message and smiled grimly. The aliens thought this was over, but they were wrong. They had started this war by voting to exterminate humanity. Now they were going to learn what happened when you declared war on a species that had spent millions of years fighting to survive. Prepare the strike fleets, General Bell ordered. It is time to take this war to their worlds. They wanted to see what deathworlders could do. We are going to show them. The battle for Earth was over. The real war was just beginning. 3 months after the failed attack on Earth, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. Panic filled the crystal chamber as reports came in from across their space. The humans were not just defending themselves anymore. They were taking the war to every species that had voted against them. Chancellor Vex of the Trade Federation stood at his platform, his tentacles shaking with fear. The Deathworlders have destroyed every mining operation in the Kepler sector. They are not even taking the resources for themselves. They are just making sure we cannot have them. Elder Thaxis's scales had turned a dull gray color, which meant he was stressed. How many ships have we lost this week? Over 200 across all our fleets, Chancellor Vex replied. And we still have not seen their main battle groups. These are just their raiders. Admiral Susan Wright commanded the human raider fleet from her destroyer Lightning. She studied the star charts in her ready room with her officers. Their job was simple: make the aliens regret starting this war. Captain Rodriguez, what is our next target? Admiral Wright asked. Captain Carlos Rodriguez pointed to a red dot on the map. The Vorthan fuel depot at Nexus 7, Admiral. If we destroy it, their fleets in this sector will be stranded. Do it, Admiral Wright said. But remember the rules. Military targets only. We are not like them. Colonel Rick Davis led the Marine units that hit alien ground bases. His soldiers were experts at fighting in dangerous places. They had trained in the deserts of Earth, the ice fields of Antarctica, and the toxic swamps of Venus. The aliens had never faced enemies like this. Their security forces were used to dealing with protests and minor crime. They had no idea how to fight soldiers who had learned warfare on a world that tried to kill them every day. These species have lived in peace for so long, they have forgotten what real fighting looks like. Colonel Davis explained to his Marines before a mission. They expect us to follow rules, to fight fair, to give warnings. We are going to teach them that humans learned different lessons. The Kalari commune tried to arrange a peace meeting. They sent their best diplomat, Ambassador Keltar, to meet with the humans. The meeting took place on a neutral space station at the edge of human space. Captain Jenny Walsh represented humanity. She had replaced Admiral Murphy as the diplomatic liaison. But her idea of diplomacy was very different from what the aliens expected. "You want to negotiate?" Captain Walsh asked the fish-like alien across the table. "Here are our terms. Complete withdrawal from human space, payment for the damage you caused when you attacked our home, and the end of the Galactic Council that voted to kill us all." Ambassador Keltar's gills fluttered in shock. "These demands are impossible. You cannot expect us to destroy our entire government." Captain Walsh's smile was cold. "You voted to destroy ours. You voted to exterminate our entire species. The only reason you are still alive is because we are better than you thought we were." The alien diplomat tried to explain. "We were afraid. Your species comes from such a violent world. We thought you would bring that violence to us." "You were right to be afraid," Captain Walsh said. "But you made a mistake. You thought our violence was random and cruel. You did not understand that we learned to be precise with our violence. On Earth, if you waste energy fighting the wrong enemy, you die." General Bell coordinated the war from Earth. His strategy was not to conquer the alien worlds, but to teach them a lesson they would never forget. Human forces struck with surgical precision, hitting military targets while leaving civilian areas alone. Dr. Karen Stone was the fleet's chief strategist. She had studied every alien species in the galaxy, learning how they thought and what they feared. Her job was to design attacks that would hurt the aliens where they felt it most. "The key is to show them that we could destroy everything, but we choose not to," Dr. Stone explained to a group of captured alien officers. "Your leaders thought we were mindless monsters. We are showing them that we are something much more dangerous than monsters. We are soldiers who think before we strike." The alien prisoners were kept in comfortable quarters on human ships. They were fed well and treated with respect. This confused them more than anything else. They had expected torture and cruelty from the Deathworlders. Lieutenant Mike Johnson was in charge of the prisoner program. He made sure the aliens understood what was happening to them. "Your people voted to commit genocide against us," he told a group of Vorthan officers. "In response, we could have done the same to you. Instead, we are showing you mercy that you never planned to show us. Think about what that means." The psychological effect on the alien populations was devastating. Every day brought news of another human victory. Another demonstration that the Deathworlders were not the mindless savages the Council had claimed they were. Human intelligence networks, led by Commander Tony Miller, identified key targets throughout alien space. They did not just attack randomly. Every strike was planned to send a message. When the Corvani tried to build new warships, humans destroyed the shipyards but left the workers unharmed. When the Zentari moved their fleets to attack human colonies, they found their home defense bases disabled, but their families safe. "We could kill them all," Commander Miller reported to General Bell. "Their security is designed to stop criminals and protesters, not trained soldiers, but that is not what we want." "What do we want?" General Bell asked, though he already knew the answer. "We want them to understand that starting this war was the biggest mistake in galactic history," Commander Miller replied. "We want them to know that we could end this tomorrow if we chose to be as ruthless as they tried to be." The aliens began to realize that they had made a terrible error. The humans were not mindless monsters from a death world. They were something far more dangerous. Intelligent predators who had learned to use their violence with deadly precision. Reports reached the Galactic Council that human forces had discovered the location of their secret military headquarters. Admiral Murphy was leading a strike force directly toward the fortress moon of Kythera. Elder Thaxis received the intelligence report with trembling claws. "How did they find it?" "That location has been secret for 1,000 years. They have been studying us since the day we voted for war," Chancellor Vex replied. "These Deathworlders do not just fight with weapons. They fight with their minds." The fortress moon was supposed to be impregnable. It was hidden in a dangerous nebula and protected by the most advanced defenses in the galaxy. No enemy had ever even found it, let alone attacked it. But the aliens were learning that humans specialized in doing things that were supposed to be impossible. They had survived on a world that should have killed them. They had built a civilization on a planet that tried to destroy everything on it. Now they were coming to show the galaxy what happened when you made the mistake of declaring war on Earth's children. The final battle was about to begin. The fortress moon of Kythera had never been attacked in its 1,000-year history. Hidden deep in the Crimson Nebula, it housed the military command centers of 37 alien species. The aliens inside watched their sensors as 20 human ships approached through the dangerous space clouds. Admiral Murphy stood on the bridge of his flagship Retribution, studying the massive fortress ahead. The moon was covered in weapon platforms and shield generators. It looked impossible to attack. "Their defenses are exactly what we expected," reported Commander Tony Miller from his stealth ship Shadow. "These species really do not understand how humans fight." Captain Maria Santos checked her equipment one more time. She led the assault marines who would board the fortress once they found a way inside. Her soldiers carried kinetic weapons and explosives, not the energy guns that most galactic armies used. "Remember," Captain Santos told her troops, "we are not here to slaughter everyone. We are here to end this war. But if they want to fight, we will show them what Earth Marines can do." The aliens in the fortress felt confident. Their shields could stop any known weapon. Their defensive systems had been designed by the greatest military minds in the galaxy. No force had ever broken through their defenses. They thought the humans would attack the shields directly, trying to blast their way through like every other species would. Instead, Admiral Murphy ordered what looked like a hopeless frontal assault. Human ships charged straight at the fortress, taking heavy damage from the alien weapons. Some ships were destroyed, their crews dying in balls of fire and metal. The aliens cheered as they watched the Deathworlders apparently throw their lives away in useless attacks. Elder Thaxis watched from the main command center. "These humans are fools," he said to his staff. "They fight with passion instead of intelligence. We will destroy them all." But the aliens did not know about Captain Danny Clark and his demolition team. While the space battle raged above, Clark's engineers had been working for weeks in the deep tunnels beneath the fortress moon. "Charges are set," Captain Clark reported over his encrypted radio, ready to bring down their shield generators. The fortress shields were designed to keep enemy ships out. They were not designed to stop humans who had tunneled through the moon's core like the miners they had once been. The explosions came from below, shaking the entire fortress. Half the shield generators disappeared in clouds of rock and metal. Alarms screamed throughout the alien command centers as their perfect defenses crumbled. "Impossible," Elder Thaxis shouted. "How did they get explosives inside our shields?" Captain Santos and her Marines poured through the gaps in the fortress defenses. The aliens had security troops, but they were trained to handle riots and protests, not combat veterans from a death world. The human Marines moved through the fortress corridors like ghosts. They used explosives to blow through walls, taking routes that the aliens never expected. When alien security forces tried to stop them, they found themselves fighting enemies who had trained in some of the most dangerous places in the galaxy. "Contact left," Sergeant Bill Walker shouted as his squad encountered alien defenders. The fight was brief and brutal. The aliens had better armor and weapons, but they had never learned to fight in close quarters against enemies who would do anything to win. The human advance was unstoppable. Every alien defensive position fell within minutes. The defenders had spent their lives studying proper military tactics, but humans fought dirty. They used the fortress against itself, turning security systems into weapons and using maintenance tunnels to appear behind enemy lines. Admiral Murphy reached the main command center faster than anyone thought possible. His Marines had carved a path straight through the heart of the fortress, leaving destruction and terrified aliens in their wake. Elder Thaxis found himself staring at the human admiral across his own command room. The ancient alien's scales had turned almost black with fear and rage. "You could kill us all," Elder Thaxis said, his voice shaking. Admiral Murphy nodded slowly. "Yes, we could. Your people have lived in peace for so long that you forgot what war really means. You thought it was about honor and rules and fair fighting." The Admiral's words were broadcast throughout the fortress on all communication channels. Every surviving alien defender could hear him speak. "You voted for war because you thought we were monsters," Admiral Murphy continued. "You were afraid that we would bring violence to your peaceful galaxy. But there is a difference between monsters and soldiers that you never learned." He gestured to the destruction around them, to the human Marine standing guard over alien prisoners who were being treated with respect despite their defeat. "Monsters kill because they enjoy it. Soldiers kill because they have to. Monsters destroy everything in their path. Soldiers know when to stop fighting." Elder Thaxis looked around his ruined command center. "What do you want from us?" "Unconditional surrender," Admiral Murphy replied. "The dissolution of the Galactic Council that voted for genocide, and a new government where no species can ever again vote to exterminate another without facing the consequences." Captain Rodriguez entered the command center with a report. Admiral, we have secured all critical areas of the fortress. Alien military leaders from 17 species are requesting permission to surrender. Granted, Admiral Murphy ordered. And Captain Rodriguez? Make sure they understand the terms. This war ends now, but only if they agree to never start another one like it. The news of the fortress moon's fall spread across the galaxy in hours. The impossible had happened. The secret military headquarters of the Galactic Alliance had been captured by a species that most aliens still thought of as primitive deathworlders. But the real shock was not that humans had won. It was how they had won. Instead of killing everyone who opposed them, they had shown restraint. Instead of destroying everything in sight, they had targeted only military installations. The aliens began to understand that they had been wrong about humanity from the very beginning. These were not mindless savages who brought chaos wherever they went. They were disciplined soldiers who understood the difference between necessary violence and cruelty. "We surrender," Elder Thaxis said formally, his voice carrying to every alien communication system in the galaxy. The Galactic Council formally surrenders to the human forces and accepts all terms offered by Admiral Murphy. The war was over. But the galaxy would never be the same. The species that had voted for humanity's extinction had learned that some fights should never be started, and that the most dangerous enemies are those who know exactly when to stop fighting. Admiral Murphy looked out at the stars from the captured fortress. Somewhere out there, human colonies were celebrating the end of the war, but he knew this was not really an ending. It was the beginning of something new. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant to have humans as protectors instead of enemies, and for the first time in galactic history, that might actually be enough to keep the peace. 2 years after the war ended, the new Galactic Assembly met for the first time. The meeting place was Haven, a neutral world that had been built specifically for this purpose. The new government was smaller and more practical than the old council. Gone were the grand displays and fancy ceremonies that had made the aliens feel important. President Helen Ross stood at the speaker's platform, with Admiral Murphy and General Bell beside her. She looked out at the assembled representatives from 49 species. 2 new races had asked to join since the war ended. The vote that started our war was made by species who had never known real hardship, President Ross said. You confused peace with weakness and civilization with softness. Today we build something better. The new constitution was different from the old one. Any decision about war or peace required agreement from every single species. More importantly, humanity held a permanent veto over any military action. The galaxy would never again vote for genocide. The Nixari delegate, the young alien who had originally voted for humanity, spoke for many when she said, "We have learned that the qualities we feared in humans are exactly what make them valuable allies. Their strength comes from surviving hardship, not from causing it." Captain Lisa Carter now served as humanity's chief diplomatic officer. She worked with the reformed alien governments to establish new rules for how species would interact. The galaxy was learning that humans could be partners, but only with those who understood that partnership meant respect. The old council made decisions based on fear, Captain Carter explained to a group of new alien diplomats. They were afraid of anything different from themselves. The new assembly makes decisions based on understanding. Dr. Paul Young had built the Institute for Interspecies Understanding on Haven. Young, beings from across the galaxy came there to learn about different ways of life. The most popular class was called Survival Studies, where human teachers explained how difficult environments created strong societies. Your homeworld shapes who you become, Dr. Young told his students. Humans learn to be tough because Earth is tough. But we also learn to work together, because on a death world, cooperation means survival. General Bell oversaw the new Joint Defense Force. For the first time in galactic history, human officers trained alongside aliens. But the lessons were not just about tactics and weapons. They were about the ethics of using force. Power without restraint is just destruction, General Bell explained to a mixed class of human and alien cadets. True strength means knowing when not to fight. The former alien military leaders had gained new respect for the human way of war. Chancellor Vex, who had once called for humanity's destruction, now worked closely with human advisors to rebuild the systems damaged during the conflict. "We thought you were savage because you came from a dangerous world," Chancellor Vex admitted during a private meeting with Admiral Murphy. We did not understand that surviving danger requires both strength and wisdom. Elder Thaxis had become an unlikely ally. The old Corvani leader spent his time studying human history, trying to understand how a species could be both warlike and peaceful. Your people fought each other for thousands of years, Elder Thaxis said to Admiral Murphy. But you also learned to stop fighting when the war was won. That is the lesson we missed. The real test of the new galaxy came 3 years after the assembly was formed. Long-range scouts detected ships approaching from beyond the galactic rim. These were not explorers or traders. They were warships from a species that called itself the Devourers. Unlike the civilized races of the galaxy, the Devourers truly were what the aliens had feared humans to be. They conquered worlds and enslaved populations. They knew only violence and domination. The assembly met in emergency session as reports came in of attacks on outer rim colonies. Several worlds had already fallen to the invaders. The old Galactic Council would have spent months debating what to do. The new assembly turned to President Ross and asked a question that would have been impossible before the war. What do you recommend we do? Admiral Murphy studied the tactical reports from the rim. The Devourer ships were powerful and numerous. They had destroyed everything in their path and showed no interest in negotiation. We fight, Admiral Murphy said simply, but we fight smart. We fight together, and we make sure that when it is over there is still something worth protecting. The response was immediate. Human battle fleets moved toward the rim, joined by alien ships crewed by beings who had learned new ways of warfare. The old galaxy would have sent separate fleets that fought according to their own traditions. The new galaxy sent unified forces that fought like humans. Captain Sam Turner commanded the first response fleet. His ships included vessels from 12 different species, all working together under human tactical doctrine. Remember, Turner told his mixed crew, we are not fighting to conquer. We are fighting to protect. The Devourers chose to be monsters. We choose to be guardians. The first battle with the Devourers shocked both sides. The invaders expected to face the same kind of civilized warfare they had encountered everywhere else. Instead, they met an enemy that fought with human ruthlessness but alien innovation. Colonel Rick Davis led ground forces that included human Marines fighting alongside Vorthan shock troops and Kalari engineers. The combination was devastatingly effective. These new enemies are strong, Colonel Davis reported after the first major engagement, but they fight like the old galaxy used to fight. They expect rules and honor. They have no idea how to handle an enemy that adapts. The war against the Devourers lasted 6 months. It ended not with the total destruction of the enemy, but with their complete withdrawal from galactic space. The invaders had learned the same lesson the galaxy had learned years before. Humans made terrible enemies but excellent protectors. The victory celebration on Haven lasted 3 days. For the first time in galactic history, dozens of species came together not as separate peoples, but as citizens of a unified civilization. Captain Jenny Walsh, now an admiral, spoke at the celebration. 5 years ago, you voted for war against us because you were afraid we would bring violence to your peaceful galaxy. Today we fought together to protect that peace. The memorial built on Haven listed the names of everyone who had died in both wars, human and alien alike. The inscription was written in every major galactic language. They died so we could learn to live together. Dr. Karen Stone, now Director of Galactic Security, established new protocols for dealing with threats from outside the galaxy. We learned that peace is not the absence of conflict, she explained. Peace is having the strength to protect what you value. The galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. Species that had once feared each other now worked side by side. The Deathworlders, who had been seen as too dangerous to join civilized space, had become the guardians of that civilization. Elder Thaxis, now approaching the end of his long life, often sat in the gardens of Haven watching young beings from dozens of worlds play together. They were learning lessons that his generation had almost learned too late. Fear makes us weak, he told a group of visitors one day. Understanding makes us strong. The humans taught us that the most important battles are not won through violence, but through the wisdom to know when violence is necessary and when it must end. Admiral Murphy, now retired from active duty, served as an advisor to the assembly. He often walked through the halls where alien representatives once voted to destroy his species, now working together to build something better. The galaxy that had once voted for war against the Deathworlders now followed their lead into a new age. They had learned that strength without compassion was just brutality, but compassion without strength was just helplessness. In the depths of space, human-designed defense stations stood ready to protect a galaxy that finally understood why the most dangerous people often made the best protectors. The children of Earth had found their place among the stars, not as conquerors but as the guardians of a peace they had helped create. The vote was long over. The fire had been brought, but from the ashes of the old galaxy, something new and stronger had been born.